Hey everyone, it's Mason Stoops, and today I'm at Hollywood Guitar Center in the Platinum Vintage Room, and I thought I would take this opportunity to check out one of the most iconic electric guitars of its era, an early 1961 Gibson Les Paul SG. Let's head over to Sunset Sound and plug it in. When this guitar came out, it was the answer to the original Les Paul that we all know and love, not really actually selling all that well. It was expensive to produce, and up until 1960, they weren't really getting the numbers they wanted in terms of people going out and buying them. Ted McCarty, the president of Gibson, went back to the drawing table and came up with this, a much easier to produce, that was also cheaper to produce guitar, that was slimmer, more modern. It had all these beveled edges and curves, and the neck access was something unlike any electric guitar had offered before. You can go all the way up to the edge of the fingerboard, which you can't do on a Les Paul or really any other electric guitar. It was an extremely radical new design and a big risk, and they called it the Les Paul because they had a deal with Les Paul where he would have their signature solid body guitar. Everyone was into it except Les Paul himself. After a bunch of debate and back and forth, they agreed to take his name off the guitar and sell it as a new model altogether. And they didn't have a name, they didn't know what to call it. In their catalog up to that point, it was just marked as the SG to stand for solid guitar, and that ended up being the name that stuck. So the Gibson SG is where this guitar was going, but at this point in time, this was still technically a Gibson Les Paul. So it's a really cool kind of middle point of the history and shows kind of the direction Gibson was trying to head away from the more archtop and carved and expensive bass that they had done before into a new world of pointy, exciting, modern electric guitars. So when the Les Paul SG was introduced in 1961, it had some familiar features up to that point, including the PAF humbucking pickups, as well as Gibson's classic 4-control layout. It had a new, slimmer, wider neck that Gibson touted as the fastest neck available on the market at the time. And a lot of ones like this came with this side pole vibrato. The idea was to offer a low profile vibrato like what was commonplace in other electric guitars, but it had this handle that you pulled up on instead of pushed down on. They weren't super successful and they're pretty clumsy to use, but they do work, and it's a pretty iconic look that became really synonymous with the SG. For today's demo, we're very lucky to be plugged into an all-original 1964 Fender Vibroverb. It's an incredible clean platform and one of the holy grails of the original Fender black panel line of amplifiers. They sound amazing with a huge 15-inch speaker. I'm going to go ahead and start with the neck pickup just to give you a rough idea of what this guitar can do. So right away, there's a lot of differences between playing this SG Les Paul and a more traditional Les Paul. First thing is this neck really is slim and it really does feel fast. It's just wide and comfortable, and especially with all the fret access, you feel like you can kind of go anywhere at a moment's notice, and that's pretty cool. The slimmer body and all mahogany wood really means it's a more focused sound, at least to my ears, compared to a Les Paul, which has that big maple cap and a thicker body. So there definitely are sonic differences despite both of them having very similar pickups and very similar electronics. If only Les Paul knew what the SG was going to do, both genre-wise and musically. It's really an iconic sound and iconic guitar. Next, let me show you the middle position. It's the best of both worlds between the neck pickups warmth and the bridge pickups bite. But these being these early humbuckers, it's not quite the bright sound that maybe a Fender would have, but they're not as dark as I would say modern humbuckers that you might be used to hearing. So when we think of a lot of the guitar heroes that are associated with the SG, usually we think of Tony Iommi or Angus Young, you know, guys who played rock music. And the SG, even though it wasn't designed to do that, really did excel for those genres. The thinner body and all mahogany made it a much more mid-range and focused sound that when you cranked a Marshall, it really just gave you an incredible distortion that no other guitar really could do at the time. And it wasn't until guys started turning their amps up that they realized how special these humbucker-equipped guitars were, which did eventually lead to the resurgence of the original Les Paul. But it's funny that guitars like this, which were designed to replace a Les Paul, kind of had a big part in bringing them back. So let's check out the bridge pickup by itself. I'm going to try to turn the amp up a little bit to see what kind of distortion we can get out of it, but mostly I just want you to hear the clean PAF sound that comes out of this guitar when you drive it just right. There's something so special about this early Mahogany SG with the PAFs. It's an unmistakable sound, and yeah, I would very much love to have something like this in my arsenal. So if you'd like to learn anything more about this particular SG or any of Guitarcenter's other vintage guitars, you could head to guitarcenter.com or just take a trip down to the Hollywood GC and check out the Platinum Vintage Room for yourself.